YouTube, what is good, bruv gang, what is good, and we are back with another video. Over the years, we have seen some insanely good remakes of some classic JRPGs, giving them that modern facelift and providing even more incentive to newer fans to experience some of these classics they may have missed out on. So as follow up to my previous video where I talked about the 5 best JRPG remasters, I thought it was only right to share with you guys in this video the 5 best JRPG remakes I feel you need to play. Live Alive. With the original version of Live Live releasing way back in 1994 only in Japan for the Super Famicom, this was a game that was long needing of a modern port to the West. So it was announced that Square Enix would be releasing a full-on remake for the game in that beautiful HD 2D art style in July of 2022, firstly for the Nintendo Switch and then later announced for the PS4, PS5 and PC respectively in 2023. So Live Alive is an RPG published by Square Enix and developed by Historia. The game sees you take on the role of 8 different protagonists through 9 different scenarios. While each narrative has the same basic mechanics, individual stories have unique gimmicks. These include the use of stealth, a lack of standard battles, or using telepathy to learn new facts to progress the narrative. Now, with the original releasing back in 1994 only in Japan, for many in the West, without having played fan translations of the original, the Live Live remake was pretty much most people's, and myself included, first ever experience with this classic game. So interestingly enough, Live Alive was said to be the blueprint for the release of Square Enix classic and Chrono Trigger, which was released a year later in 1995. Where the game deals with time travelling and playing through different periods in history, separated into the 8 unique chapters, making Live Alive a very important piece of Square Enix media. So being as this was my first experience with this classic game, Square Enix done an absolutely amazing job with this remake. From everything to that beautiful HD 2D art style which I am an absolute sucker for, to the game's really unique and well told stories, this is honestly a JRPG remake that I absolutely adored. The 8 stories and protagonists you got to play through all felt unique in their own way, and the different settings and time periods in history the game has you explore honestly all felt like they could have been their own standalone games. Now, where some of the story's gameplay gimmicks do feel a little bit tedious at times, Twilight of Edo Japan, I'm looking at you. But jokes aside, I really love that Square didn't decide to use the same gameplay loop and copy and paste it onto each of the stories, but rather having each story have its own unique gimmick which really gave each chapter its own unique personality. So for me personally, I honestly felt this was really clever game design from Square, and was something that helped out when you may have got fed up with one gameplay gimmick. You could easily transition over to another story and experience something completely different. So the Live Live remake done an amazing job at shedding light on this classic game over here in the West, and with the HD 2D style of remake that most have come to know and love from Square Enix, this game honestly set the bar for what a modern remake of classic JRPGs could potentially be. So here's hoping after seeing the success of this remake that Square Enix decide to one day give us some of their classic JRPGs like Chrono Trigger for example the Live Alive treatment. So for me personally, Live Alive is easily one of my favourite JRPG remakes, and is 100% a game I implore more people to play. The game is always on sale or goes for very cheap, so do yourself a favour and experience one of the best modern remakes to a classic JRPG I feel everyone needs to play. Trials of Mana. So just like the Live Live remake, the original version of Trials of Mana was released way back in 1995 only in Japan for the Super Famicom. So with the release of the collection of Mana game that featured the first 3 games in the Mana series, and during the production of the 3D remake of Secret of Mana, the demand increased for series producer Masaru Oyamada to bring Trials of Mana to the West. A full-on remake was put into production in 2017 and was fully realised and released back in 2020 for the PS4, Switch and PC respectively. So Trials of Mana is an action RPG in which players control a selection of 3 out of the 6 main protagonists, each with their own narrative and unique story, all in which are drawn to the same single quest goal of saving the Mana Tree from the evil Benevolence. So just like the Live Live remake, I never personally got the chance to play the original version of Trials of Mana, so this was my first time experiencing this classic JRPG. Now Trials of Mana is a game I have mentioned recently here on the channel, where I talked about the 5 best short JRPGs I feel you need to play, which I will be leaving a card to on screen. But something about this game's beautifully remade art style, and after going back and looking at the Super Famicom release, this remake honestly just done the original justice with the stunning landscapes and vibrant colours used to make the many unique locations stand out in their own way. The remake honestly just done an amazing job at capturing the purity and essence of the 16-bit era, but now portrayed in a modern way through the remake. Now although it was simplistic, the combat and gameplay loop was something I absolutely loved. As mentioned in my previous video, its simplistic nature gives it that cozy and relaxing feel when playing. I always felt it to be the perfect pick up and play experience, where I wouldn't have to try immensely hard in combat but could sit back and hack away and dodge roll my way through enemy attacks. So for me personally, I feel over the years the job the teams at Square Enix have done to provide classic JRPGs that never came to the West from the 90s a full-on facelift with the modern remake treatment has honestly worked so well to these games' benefit. So having been my first experience with the Mana series as a whole, Trials of Mana easily turned me into a fan of this beautiful series. And with the announcement of a new Mana game set to release in 2024 under the name Visions of Mana, I feel this is the perfect time to get into this really charming series for the first time. It's a JRPG that really does justice by the original but gives it that modern fresh coat of paint. It's a game I cannot help but recommend and is 100% a JRPG I feel everyone needs to play. Super Mario RPG. So the last of the Super Famicom games on this list, but unlike the previous two games mentioned in Live Live and Trials of Mana, the original Super Mario RPG was actually released in the West way back in 1996 but in North America only. Where I was born in 1996 in September, I of course was extremely too young to even think about gaming. So before the announcement of the Super Mario RPG remake in 2023, I had heard nothing but great things about this classic JRPG and I was so excited to finally get around to playing this game for the first time. So Super Mario RPG is a turn-based RPG developed by Art Piazza and published by Nintendo. The story focuses on Mario and his friends as they seek to defeat the Smithy Gang, who have crashed into their world and scattered the 7-star pieces of Star Road. So as mentioned, before the announcement of the eventual remake, I had heard nothing but great things about this classic game, and the remake was more than enough incentive for me to go and experience this game for the first time. So right off the bat, Super Mario RPG made its presence known through its beautiful world, and that Mario charm we have all come to know and love was portrayed so well through the game's very quirky yet 90s-esque writing and character development. Now although there is no voice acting, I still feel the writers done an absolutely incredible job, complemented along with the hilarious modern animation work the remake was able to provide. It really gave each character their own unique personalities which could evidently be felt throughout your experience. The modern refinement to the turn-based gameplay was something I absolutely loved, and the intuitiveness of this combat system felt so much fun to play throughout. Rather than simply selecting a command like attack or guard for example and watch it play out, the game would have you actively time an attack like jumping on an enemy's head for example, where if timed correctly would award you with additional damage. Now, where I felt the puzzles were probably the weakest point of the game and that very 90s tedium could be felt in some of them, I still feel this did not remove from the overall experience I had with this amazing game. After playing the remake, I could honestly see why Super Mario RPG was held in such high regard, and is 100% a JRPG experience I cannot recommend enough. Its short, fun, and straight to the point approach to gameplay and modern quality of life features added to the remake really made this such a great game to play, and for me, an easy recommendation as one of the best JRPG remakes I feel everyone needs to play. Final Fantasy VII Remake. With the release of the long-awaited remake to the classic JRPG and many people's favourite entry in the Final Fantasy series and Final Fantasy VII, releasing back in 2020, firstly for the PS4, then later ported and upgraded to the PS5 and PC respectively, the remake for this classic JRPG was met with critical acclaim, and with the recent release of the second part to Remake and Rebirth, which was released on the 29th of February, Remake originally and still provides a fresh new way to experience this classic game for new and returning fans. So Final Fantasy VII Remake is an action RPG developed and published by Square Enix. Players take control of Cloud Strife, a former Shinra soldier turned mercenary who joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche to fight the Shinra Corporation who have been draining the planet's life of energy. Now where 7 Remake does change quite a fair few things in the way of a new modern action-based combat system as opposed to the original's turn-based system, and a story that is retold in a way that fleshes out more of the story, characters and world, the remake to this classic game for me personally, although it's a fresh take on the original, is honestly an amazing remake, and a new way of selling essentially a brand new product to of course not only older fans but to newer fans who maybe this might be their very first Final Fantasy game or their gateway into Final Fantasy VII. So right off the bat, being a game I had been long awaiting since this announcement back in 2015, Remake absolutely blew me away with its insane visuals. The quality of the graphics was something I honestly thought could never be topped at the time and felt Square completely outdid themselves. From the reimagining of the streets of Midgar, to seeing fan favourites like Cloud, Barrett and Tifa just to name a few, and now fully voice acted, 7 Remake honestly went above and beyond and set the bar for what a modern JRPG remake should be. Although the change in combat went from my favourite combat system in turn-based, I was extremely open to the change, and the modern revamp to the combat system, making it action-based, I felt was such a smart move by Square Enix, and meant that the remake could cater to so many new fans, which in my opinion was the main selling point behind the remake. 7 Remake honestly pushed the boundaries of what a remake should be, and as mentioned, really set the standard for not only remakes but for JRPGs as a whole. And with the recent release of the second part of 7 Remake and Rebirth, it looks like Square found the perfect formula that works for modern remakes of older games. Now, where the development cycle of course for a game of this magnitude can take years to bring to everyone, I can honestly say it was well worth the wait. Where 7 Remake serves as homage to older fans, with of course the changes to the story and gameplay being a major talking point amongst fans, I still feel it to be one of the best modern JRPGs out there and one of the best remakes ever made. So if this is your first time getting into the Final Fantasy series as a whole, I cannot recommend Final Fantasy VII Remake enough. It's 100% one of the best JRPGs out right now and one of the best JRPG remakes I feel everyone needs to play. Star Ocean: The Second Story R. Now, just like the first 3 games mentioned on this list in Live Live, Trials of Mana and Super Mario RPG, I was unable to play the original Star Ocean: The Second Story on the PS1 and sadly missed out on the PSP release back in 2009 over here in the West. With the announcement and release of what many consider to be the best Star Ocean entry in the series under the name Star Ocean: The Second Story R, serving essentially as the modern definitive remake to this classic JRPG, after seeing trailers and developers Jrpg's beautiful take on the HD 2D style honestly left me so excited to finally getting round to experience this classic JRPG for the first time. So Star Ocean: The Second Story R is an action RPG developed by Jrpg and published by Square Enix. The story centers around a young man named Claude C. Kenny, a cadet from a spacefaring Earth organization who is stranded on an underdeveloped planet. There, he meets several companions and must stop a plot from an evil organization that spans multiple worlds before finding his way home. So with the remake releasing back in 2023, and after playing the demo, it really left me excited and highly anticipating the release of this remake. As mentioned, after hearing that this was widely considered to be the best Star Ocean entry in the series, after playing the first few hours, I could honestly see why this game was held in such high regard, and after having played and completed the game, not only turned into my favourite Star Ocean entry of all time and my favourite JRPG in 2023, but is easily up there now as one of my favourite JRPGs of all time. The beautifully presented take on the HD 2D style from developers Jrpg was done so eloquently throughout this game, and just left me wanting to keep playing and exploring the vast lands and the world of Expel. The remake for this game done an amazing job at expanding on gameplay elements and staples of the Star Ocean series, like item creation for example, and the freedom the game gives you in the way of making characters overpowered through grinding or breaking the game early on. It honestly just makes for a JRPG experience that caters to all types of playstyles. So by the end of my first playthrough of Claude, my whole party ended up being level 100. The gameplay and combat loop never ever felt tedious. The modern revamp to the combat system honestly just took this remake to another level, which really maximised the fun and replayability of this game. For me personally, this is a remake that holds a special place in my heart, and is a game I cannot wait to go back and replay. As mentioned, having been my first experience with Second Story R done an amazing job at making me a fan of this incredible entry. So whether this is your first Star Ocean entry or you're a returning fan and wanted to try out this remake, this is honestly a game I cannot help but recommend whenever I get the chance. It's an absolutely beautiful take on a classic JRPG, and for me, is easily the best JRPG remake I feel everyone needs to play. So that'll do it for this video guys. I really appreciate you guys for watching. I'd love to know what some of your favourite JRPG remakes are, so please let me know down below in the comments. So as always, please like, sub, share if you're new, hit that notification bell so you get notified for my videos first, and I hope I can be you guys' #1 source for all JRPG news. So from me too, this has been your bruv, the big bruv, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. I'm out. Peace.